G'day everyone, and welcome to another beautiful day here in Australia, where we get to continue with the SMC project 2.0. And it's probably one of the most challenging projects I've ever shot. And the reasons for that is, number one, we're shooting in a southerly direction, so we've got the town of Adelaide's light dome really taking effect throughout the night sky. Not just that, it's the mosaicing. Now, I am familiar with mosaicing. I've done a lot of mosaicing in the past, nightscapes, up to about 500 images in some of my nightscape images, including stacking, no tracking, just stacked panels, blending, the works. So I'm familiar with mosaic stitching and everything else like that. But what makes it so challenging is the fact that it's such a high resolution image, and it takes a big toll on the computer system. So far now we have captured 7 panels. Tonight's going to be the 8th panel. So we are really moving along with this project. But I haven't been able to process a lot of that data that I've been able to capture over the last couple of nights. Now, each session that I image is getting close to about 100 gigabytes of data. So just based by that, I've got about 700 gig of data out of these 8 panels, or 7 panels so far. So I'm using up a lot of hard drive space, and that's thanks to the 47 megapixel mode I've got on my 294 Kirschwire 294M cameras. But not just that, being a raster, you don't need long exposures. So I'm trying to find a balance where I can get a long enough exposure where I'm not overexposing things too much, to a point that I'm happy with it, but not too short of an exposure that I've got hundreds more frames. So there's a balance there between data storage and quality of the data capturing. So it's a bit of a juggling act, but I'm really happy with how things are coming along at the moment, and I cannot wait to see the final image. The other thing I've been struggling a little bit with, and I always struggle with this, is background extraction. Being able to place your point of references on the background and extract, and create a nice smooth image without killing or taking out any of the nebulas or dust or whatever. I do struggle with that, so we'll see how we go over the duration of this project, and see if I can improve my background extraction technique as well. But anyway, we have an absolute beautiful day. The batteries are all charged up, the triplets are all ready to go, and just have to wait for it to get dark now. Alright everyone, it's getting darker and we're ready to begin our imaging process. Well, start it anyway. One of the changes that I've made is to do with taking my flat frames. So what I do is I now set up the sequence which I'll show you in a minute, but the scope will go into its park position. Once it goes into its park position, the cover motors will open up and I'll change my filters from the last imaging session that I had. So the last imaging session, they're in luminance, hydrogen alpha, and oxygen 3. And I'll be changing that over to RGB to begin the imaging, tonight's imaging session. So once I've changed all that over, it will wait for astronomical dusk. Once that's gone through, then it will commence and start its imaging session, imaging in RGB for about 2 hours. Now that's not 2 hours of data, that's just a time frame of 2 hours. Once that's done, it will then slew back into its park position, and then I'll change it to its luminance hydrogen alpha and oxygen 3 filters, and then it will begin a a flat frame session, and from then it will go on and continue imaging to astronomical dawn. The reason I've changed all this up a bit is so that way I'm awake while it's doing its flats, so that way I know the system's sort of working. I figured I'd do my flats early in the night, just before it gets to, darkness gets to a point where I can image. So that way I'm not wasting any time there. The only time I'm wasting is the flats in the middle of the session, which I prefer to have at the end, but at this stage, I just want to keep an eye on things. So as soon as that filter change is done, those flats are done for the second part of the imaging session, it's good to get some rest. Anyway, so we're going to start this session so you can sort of see exactly what it is and what I do with these RASA triplets. Alright, so RASA 1 is ready to say let's capture some photons. Alright, so imaging session sequence number 2, and you can sort of see that I've actually color coded each NINA sequence. So red is red in HA, green and luminance is here, so the green screen is for the middle RASA, and the blue screen you'll see is for blue channel and hydrogen oxygen 3. Anyway, so my focus motors are ready to go, so I'll hit that, and now it's synchronized waiting. I'll do the same for the blue. Continue, and we should be in the synchronized waiting, and then we'll go into RASA number 1. Continue, and you'll go into park position. Now the reason I have gone in this park position is so it's easier to change filters over. Now once it's done this, it should begin opening up the cover panels. Alright, the first stage all worked well, so now I'm just going to change these filters over, and we'll get ready for the next stage. Alright, so now that the filters have been all switched over, it's time to progress onto the next stage. And it's not really that hard to change the filters in this setup, but I am developing a dew shield that has internal sliders on them, so that way you can slide it up to access the filter holders a lot quicker, and makes filter changing easier, except for that dew shield is quite technical and I'm still trying to get it right. But anyway, so just going to move on to make sure the red is good. Yep. Blue filter is all good, and green filter is all good. So now we're going to go back to its home position, and it's going to wait for astronomical dusk. And once we've hit astronomical dusk, it will go through and autofocus, because the focus is going to be different between the previous lot of filters. And once I've done my autofocus, the panels will then close back up, and we will begin the flat frame process. And then once that's completed, with hopefully no hiccups, we'll begin the imaging session. so far so good. The imaging session has gone really well. We've just finished our RGB sequence, and the system has switched over to its park position, ready for me to change over the filters. And then from here on, it is carrying on throughout the rest of the night with luminance, HA, and O3 until early hours in the morning. And we're also going to be doing our flats as well for that session too. So as soon as I change these filters over, commence the second part of the session.